Welcome back to News Centre. We're discussing the current management of the capital city, Nairobi, and we're asking you this morning, are you satisfied with the current management of Nairobi City? Are you satisfied with the current management of Nairobi City? Quite a lot of feedback coming in. I can hardly keep up. Douglas Maranga says, talk about the garbage collection and the governor's plans to introduce the integrated garbage collection system. That will be something we'll be discussing in just a moment. We also have Joy Melissa saying, personally, I am disappointed with this Sonko-led team. He promised us Nairobi will be different within the first 100 days. But what I'm seeing is worse than what Kidero did. I do not know where the rain began beating us, but something should be done, and that thing is prayers. Let me take one more here. Ken Render says, indeed, I am very satisfied. After Mike Sonko took office, we have seen the change we were yearning for, e.g. revenue collection has increased. Well, he was a man elected on the platform of change with a pledge to transform the city of Nairobi. Let's just hear what Mike Mbuvi Sonko had to say, what he had to pledge to the residents of Nairobi during the campaign season.
Nairobians are the highest taxpayers in East and Central Africa. They deserve to have good roads. They deserve to have a clean city. They deserve to have a city that has no traffic congestion. They deserve to have a city that has no water shortage. The only problem hindering the development in our great county of Nairobi is number one, corruption, number two, corruption, number three, corruption.
All right, and in studio with me is Mike Mbuvi's political advisor, Abel Oyeyo. Before we get to the garbage collection issue, let's focus on that. And, Mr. Ketch also alluded to it, the fact that cartels have been a big problem in Nairobi County, especially when it comes to corruption. How has Mike Sonko managed to do it in 9 months? Not perfectly, of course, but change has been seen.
Now, Sonko was senator before he became governor, of course. So he's been able to learn the systems, how the systems work, how the cartels work. And when he came in, he knew what to do. Now, Kidero used to collect money and keep it within the county city hall. There was a cash office. So what Sonko did is to shut that office, and all the money that is collected now goes to the bank. Once the money goes to the bank, it's not spent on source. So that is how I think we've been able to go ahead and collect a lot of money compared to what Kidero used to collect. Then number two, he understood the problem, as you can see. Number one was corruption, number two, corruption, number three, corruption. Right. So yeah, he came in and got the support of the police, of course, and the national government. And some of those cartel guys were shown the door. Most of them were sent away from City Hall. Of course, not all of them. We still have some elements here and there causing sabotage from within, of course. But the system, the process is ongoing. So most of them were expelled. That is why. And they're going to keep on fighting back, maligning the governor, talking ill of the governor. But you see, he's determined. And when he was elected governor, he did not promise change as governor himself. He asked Nairobians to believe in the ability to bring change to their city. Right. And they've supported him until now. Through that.
Yeah. And I've seen all of our viewers here asking, it's great that revenue collection has gone up from more than 100 million shillings a day, but how is that money being used to benefit the city of Nairobi?
Number one, you remember during Kidero's time, there were frequent protests by the employees within the county. They were not being paid up to like 4 or 5 months. Right. Nowadays, by the 25th of the month, guys find their salaries in their accounts. Number one, that is why you cannot hear any county employee complaining of lack of payment. Number two, that is why we're able to give services to Nairobians. That is why we're able to do the road repair that you're seeing going on now. That is why every kind of thing Nairobians want, talk about processing of licenses, it's done on time. We had some problems during the heavy rains that were witnessed a couple of days ago, and the response was very swift. There were no deaths. There were, very swift rescue missions to various parts of the county. That is because of the money that's now being collected. And remember, there's what you call the duty of the control of budget. Money is not just being spent like that. Because it's collected and taken to CBK, now they have to control how we spend the money. So the spending is very clean. Nairobians can rest assured that corruption is a thing of the past. All right, and under the government.
We are the watchdog. We'll be keeping an eye on that. But Mr. Ketcha, listening to Mike Mbuvi Sonko there, he begins by saying residents of Nairobi are among the highest taxed globally, and so they deserve good services, they deserve good roads. But there are those who feel that would only be attained if the capital city was under the jurisdiction of the national government and not decentralized per se. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think the question of decentralizing the what you've just mentioned in terms of the control of the budget and all that. I think the most important thing is to have the county as it is there now to try and manage its own affair. I do agree that we're getting substantial support and revenue of some finances from the central government. But like my colleague have said, you can see it is being used in a proper manner. You talked about the revenue collection that we're getting, 120 million. What does it do? In fact, one of the things that I'm so happy about is decentralization of Kenyatta National Hospital, because some of these funds have now gone to the wards, where the hospitals are, where the clinics are. Previously, you'll go to those clinics, no attendance, no drugs, no staff, no whatever. But the coming in of the Governor Sonko, he has utilized that money in a proper way in terms of helping the same people whom he did promise that he was going to give them the service. He's very much concerned about the health from the way I've seen. He's very much concerned about the health. He's very much concerned about the youth. He's very much concerned about the general service delivery within the city. And I think he is going into the right direction. My only appeal to the Kenyans or Nairobians is Nairobi is a hub. And recently, the African countries came up with a free trade agreement, which of course will give Nairobi an opportunity. And this is where the government of Sonko should take advantage in terms of having Nairobi to become a hub in terms of trades between East and Central Africa. The other thing which I'd also like to encourage my brother is that a time has come. I'm just giving an example. I could not have worked this city on my own. I had what we call advisory of elder people. One of them was Manu Chandaria, for instance. The other one was Chris Kirubi, for instance. If you remember, we did the Mamangina Street through the initiative and advice of this advisory committee. So that is the way. This is where I'm recommending, if it's not there, let it be there, that he has an advisory committee of people who have been there before, or people who are action-oriented, people who have done very well in terms of business, people who are concerned about the wananchi, the youth, for instance, the hawkers, for instance, and that will go very well. Because I must say here that it's not easy. The young man is running up and down, and it's not easy to run the city on your own. And we must commend him. But before you do that, he had to get rid of whatever the things that was eating city hall. Right. And this is why now you're seeing everybody saying Sonko has done, ABCD has done extremely well. This is what you're seeing. The road is now being done. The water part of it is now, we're seeing a lot of improvement. So to me, I think you should be given the necessary support so that, and the encouragement, so that he can continue to provide the better services that the Nairobians want.
And of course, some of the changes that have been seen in Nairobi County have not been experienced by everybody just yet. Like you say, can't be done overnight, because you have the likes of Douglas here who says, no, Kineni here who says, I live in Nairobi, in Ngumo Estate, and Nairobi is a mess. It is time the central government takes over. There's poor drainage, there's poor health, there's poor environment maintenance. The city is under siege. But even when Mike Sonko was giving his pledges during the campaign period, he mentioned that he's going to be inheriting a lot of rot from previous regimes and previous leaders that have come forward. But looking at social media and what's been going viral lately, many are asking, we've seen Nairobi being beautified by everybody who comes and takes leadership of Nairobi County. Why don't we have a time when, one can continue from where the others stop? You, Mr. Akech, said you managed to get street children off the streets after 3 years, but it is a menace that Kidero dealt with. It is a menace that Mike Sonko later dealt with. Why don't we have that continuity? Are we having systems put in place that Nairobi City can work without Mike Sonko?
Now, there's a distinction between scamming and working. Now, what Kidero did when the Pope was coming in was a scam. Some guys were given money, they brought in some grass, it was planted. As soon as the Pope left, it dried up. Now, what the government is doing now, as you can see along Mombasa Road, It's a long-lasting, ongoing project that is going to remain there.
The branding of Sonko trees, you mean?
Let's not call them Sonko trees. That is beautification of the city. That's what it's doing.
Right.
It's going to be there long after the governor is out of office. And that is, I think, what we expect to give to the next person who comes in as governor. So I think Nairobi has now picked up. It's gone. It's going to like rise and rise. So there's no scamming anymore. And something else that I think I need to say is the street children menace is a business for some people. And Kidero's administration was not focused on solving it once and for all. That now what Sonko is doing is there's a rife project that is running up. I mean, it's almost being done. These guys will be picked from the streets and taken there. You will never see them on the streets again. And we're going to have we already have proper measures to make sure any kid who comes to the streets can be, arrested and traced where he came from.
And of course, it's not just a matter of taking them off the streets, because we saw this during, during the time when Barack Obama came to the country.
Yes.
The streets were cleaned up, but the street children had quite horrific stories to tell about how they were being kept.
Yeah, because I think there was no proper method of dealing with them for Kidero. It was just, picking them up, locking them somewhere for the duration the president of the US was around. As soon as he left, the kids were set free. That is not a solution. It's not a permanent solution to a serious problem.
Right.
So the project is going to solve that problem once and for all. And then something else I think I need to mention is, like the former mayor, His Worship said, you cannot solve the problems of Nairobi within a day or month or something. We're talking about a city that has around 5 million Kenyans. And the problems have been accumulating over a long period of time. For example, I think 2 years into elections, garbage was not being collected at all. The cartels Kidero put in office were just siphoning money from the county. Sonko has taken so much time to actually collect all this garbage and take it to where it's supposed to be. As we speak now, the garbage that had piled up in estates is no longer there. Every single day you can see trucks moving the garbage to where it's supposed to be. And there is a project that is going to make sure this garbage is processed to produce energy for Nairobians. I think some of it will go to the national grid. That is a permanent solution to the garbage problem. So it's all about long-lasting solutions, not stopgap measures.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Kesh, perhaps even as we try to wind up this conversation, what are some of the three key issues you think Mike Mbuvi Sonko needs to focus on to make Nairobi City a better city?
Well, I think already he's doing it. It's just that he has to re-emphasize it. I think the most important thing is to provide the service delivery in terms of the roads, for instance. That has got to be done within the CBD and within the entire Nairobi County. The other one is the question of the youth, which of course he's so much passionate about.
Right.
And as you know, our youths really, if you don't take care of them, definitely they become a little bit disappointed. And I must say he has done extremely well in terms of trying to identify the youth and giving them the opportunity, and also taking advantage of some of the ideas that they have,
right,
which can help them up. And the other one, which I think is very important, is the low-cost housing, which I think is very, very important. I think our president talked about 500,000 houses needed. I think this is where, in terms of the urban renewal, I think this is where the emphasis should also come in. You look at the area of Ziwani, Majengo, Kaloleni. During our time, we came up with that kind of a proposal where we wanted to put up almost 44,000 flats in Nairobi, particularly in an area that belongs to the county. And that is the area that I think Mr. Sonko should also concentrate in. But above all, the international community.
Right.
They love the young man. Let him take advantage of that. Habitat is ready to chip in, to go into partnership. I lead what we call Safer City Initiative on behalf of the Habitat, and we care more about the open spaces which were taken long time ago. Sonko has managed to bring some of those open spaces back to the community because our children don't have anywhere to play, to socialize, not like during our time. Because during our time and when you were there, at least you could go next door, you have a football pitch, you have a netball pitch, and so forth and so on. And I'm so happy that he's trying to reclaim them back so that it goes back to the community and provide the opportunity for the young people to do the sports and all that stuff. Because
right,
Kenya has got what Kenya has the potential in terms of sports, in terms of innovation, in terms of capability to promote Nairobi. For instance, let me just give you one point. Did you know that in Dandora there's a waterfall
No, I did not.
It is there. And this is being done by the youth themselves. Already the Minister of Tourism has gone there to have a look at it. And this has been through the courtesy of Sonko himself, of trying to encourage the young people to come up with something which is new in their own community, in their own world. And this kind of innovation are the things that are actually helping the young people. So to me, I'm happy with what the young man Sonko is doing in terms of proving people. People thought he was not going to make it, but he has done it almost 80% in less than 9 months.
All right. Many thanks for that, Abel. To the skeptics, because a lot has been said. There are those who said with the resignation of former Deputy Governor Polycarp Igathe, then Nairobi City would be headed for the dogs, that Polycarp Igathe was the brains and Sonko was a politician, that without him, he would not be able to move forward. Your word to the skeptics, it is 9 months down the line, 4 years left to go. What is Nairobi County expecting for the next 4 years?
Let me respond to His Worship. Number one, the governor is very much willing to listen. He always listens very much, and I think he respects elders like you who have experience, in running the county. And as far as the formation of an advisory team is concerned, I think that is an idea he can impress very quickly. And if you visit, most likely he'll give you audience. I'm sure you.
He's got an open door policy.
Yes. And then number two, when it comes to young people, recently there was a recruitment of constables and firefighters. Of course, that was an employment opportunity for young people. And of course, there was the sponsorship for young men and women to go to vocational training from the governor himself. The county has dedicated a lot of resources for the empowerment of young people. Now, when it comes to the resignation of Polycarp Igathe, he's a nice guy, but remember, the governor won the Jubilee nomination without Igathe. So Nairobians expressed confidence in Sonko even before Igathe joined the tickets. So talking about Igathe being the brain behind the whole, system is neither here nor there. It's baseless.
All right.
And, he left, and you see Nairobi is moving forward. You can see Nairobians are saying Sonko is working, even after he left.
Right.
So I think he has to be given support and time. He's going to pick a deputy governor very soon, and it's all about forward march.
All right.
Yes.
Well, many thanks for that. That is Abel Oyeho, who is the political advisor to Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko. I've also been speaking this morning to Joe Akech, who is the former Nairobi mayor, a position very similar to that of the governor position. Many thanks, gentlemen, for joining us on the program this morning. Remember, we were asking you on our Twitter poll question whether you were satisfied with the current management of Nairobi City. We'll be sampling some of your thoughts when we come back here. But Douglas says the procedures are already in place. It is just a matter of time before some places turn into a mini Karen. Misoi says Mike Sonko is doing a good job of fixing a city which was a total mess. But Jacob asks, what has he done so far? Ryan Simiu says, yet beggars in their multitude within the CBD. Kineni says, how long will it take? Time is the so-called excuse nowadays. I am not satisfied with the services in Nairobi at all. And finally, Brian Momanyi here says, I don't think the current officials can help Sonko take Nairobi to the next level. So do keep your thoughts and comments coming in. We'll be sampling more of them as we go along. This is News Centre. Let's take a short break, but leave you with some of the sights and sounds of Nairobi County.